scruffy people, Tracy Reed here today, coming at you with a layout for the April 2023 Tracy Reed Designs Team Hop. We are using the Aflutter collection today. There's a link to everyone's videos in the description box below, as well as a blog post where you can click through all of the images as well. But today I'm going to be creating a page for my personal growth album this year, which I really haven't been doing a lot of layouts for this album because I haven't had a lot of personal growth in the way that I had hoped. So actually this layout is going to be about that and about what I'm learning from the struggle of that. And so I pulled out some cards that I think will work. There's some embellishments over here as well, and I think I'm just going to get started. I have to admit that it is always hard for me to work with my own collections, and it's not because I don't love them. I do. It's because I have already spent so much time and energy getting this collection into, fruition, that by the time it's time to work with it, I'm a little burnt out. That's why I always work with my collections so much better when it's been a few months since they've been released. So with this particular collection, the struggle was real. I was in serious burnout mode when I made the Aflutter collection. This was the third TRD collection I had made in a month. Plus I had created some Echo Park collections. Plus I had created some stamps for other people. It was crazy. And so when I went to go use this collection, I really had to dig deep to make something that I was going to be satisfied with and that made me happy. And also part of the thing is, for me, since I designed the collection, all of the artwork in the collection is very personal to me. So with other collections, ones that I didn't design, when I use them, I don't hesitate to scuff things up, change things around, cut things apart. But with my own collections, because I had such a vision when I went to go design them, I'm much more hesitant to do that. So I really challenged myself with this particular page to dig a little bit deeper, go a little bit harder, and treat it like I would treat a collection that didn't just come from my own heart. So what I'm doing here is creating a flip out because I really want to hide the journaling for this page. It's a little bit personal, or it will be a little bit personal, and so I don't want it like front and center on my layout. It's not so personal that it can't be read. It just doesn't need to be the main attraction. I printed out 2 of these rainbow wood grain papers. I printed out 2 of them because I just knew that I would have to use them both together. They are just so, it's absolutely, I think it's everyone's favorite paper in the collection. It's used over and over again throughout all of the team layouts, and I am no exception. However, I didn't want, again, I could have let this stand as just this beautiful rainbow background paper, but I didn't want to use that sort of cop out and say, well, the paper is beautiful all by itself. I really wanted to add to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double map both of these, like the square photo and the square journal card. Initially, I was just going to single map both of them, but I ended up ripping that purple blue paper a little bit too close to the edge of the card, and so it didn't really quite give that torn edge the way that I wanted it to, like that sticking out torn edge. So then I decided to grab some of the scraps from the pink paper, the pink pattern card, and layer it underneath the purple. And so then I did the opposite with the top photo. So I'm distressing everything because I really think that this distressing and wearing of the edges with this background paper is perfect. I think that it goes really well with the vibe of the layout. So you can still see the rainbow wood grain, but now there's a little bit more going on. I'm also going to leave a little bit more of the wood grain showing on the right hand side, so you'll still get that effect. I also added to that Traveler's Notebook signature with the hearts, that little, well, it's actually a label plus a circular embellishment in the middle. And I think that adds, it kind of adds a title-ish sentiment, but it just, gives the the Traveler's Notebook card a little bit more to look at. I love all those hearts, but they really are a background in my brain, so I wanted to add a little bit to them. So I'm going to create some layering over here with some of the stickers from the collection. I haven't actually print and cut any of the digital embellishments, so everything that you see here is either a card or a sticker. And of course I had to use the butterflies because butterflies are my thing, and the butterflies in this collection are just so pretty. I love them so much. And also the theme of the collection, it works really well because it is about how change and growth is an ever-evolving process, which, you know, butterflies really signify and persona, or I guess it wouldn't be personify since they're not people, but really bring that into a tangible, physical sort of icon. And so I have double matted the little journal notebook paper and the tag. I didn't know if I wanted to include that rainbow tag because it does mimic the background so much, but it did end up working out pretty well. I'm going to scuff up the edges of this cluster as well. And then I'm looking at this and it's coming out fine and it's pretty, but I still feel like I haven't really stepped up my game all that much with this particular layout. And so I'm thinking maybe that I'm going to add in some hand stitching to this page, but I have to get all of these embellishments down first. Initially, I was thinking of maybe hand stitching butterfly trails, which would have been a good option, but I ended up doing something else instead, and I think it came out really well. So I'm going to use this happy heart as my main title over here, and then I decided I needed to pull up that tag a little bit so you could see it better under the happy heart. And then I think the whole cluster needs to move up just a little bit because it's a little too low. So we're just gonna pop it up. One thing I love about getting my papers printed at Office Depot is there's a bit of a shine to the paper. Just it's not shiny, but there's a bit of a sheen to the paper, which makes it easy to remove adhesive and move it back up for the most part. Sometimes it rips, but most of the time it doesn't. So I've got all of these butterflies down now on pop dots, and I'm gonna stick this word bit down here. And then I'm going to decide that I need to add in some more to these clusters. So I decided to go with, at first, I'm going to go with buttons. All of these little sticker buttons that actually, if you run them through your Silhouette or your Cricut, they will cut out the centers as well. So this is where I start thinking about, well, maybe I want to add hand stitching to the centers of these buttons, just like I would a real button. So I'm going to add buttons to the whole page, and I'm going to add another butterfly over here as well. And then I decide that I need to add in some florals as well, just to bulk up these clusters a little bit more. They're feeling a little bit sparse, not quite a lot going on yet. So I should have done this before I used the liquid glue to put down the buttons, but you know me, and I always do things the hard way. So for the most part, these work around the buttons just fine, but I do have to pull up that orange button down there with the pink flowers to get it under there. And I also need to pull up this butterfly because this needs to set right underneath the butterfly. So I'm just gonna pull up the butterfly, and then I'll have to re-adhere the pop dots underneath because they get a little bit messy, and I'm gonna have to put more down. So I'm just gonna stick this flower underneath the butterfly and just, you know, push it down right on top of that flower. It works. Flowers can float too. So I'm gonna stick this one down here, and I could not decide if I wanted it in front of or behind that notebook edge, but I figured if I put it, what I was contemplating was if I put it behind the notebook edge, you'd be able to see the notebook edge. If I put it in front of the notebook edge, you can't see the notebook edge anymore, and that kind of defeats the purpose of having it there, but I felt like it just looked better on top of the notebook edge anyway, so a little bit sad about losing that cool texture, but I'll make up for it with some thread here in a minute. So I need to build another cluster over here with a flower, a button, and a butterfly. Decide to add this little branch in here as well. And then I'm gonna pop up, or I'm not gonna pop up the flowers or anything on pop dots. I think I will end up popping up the butterfly just so it matches, but I don't really need a lot of texture and depth underneath this flap, otherwise it won't close very well. So I have to keep that in mind while I am designing this page, or this part of this page, but this definitely needs something over here. I need to move this around a little because it was not sticking in the right direction. There we we go, that's a little better. Perfect. So initially, after I get this butterfly down, initially I pull out a bunch of different colors of thread, and I end up deciding to stitch all of the buttons with one color thread, and it was mostly just because I am lazy. I'm just lazy, and that's what it is. And I add some stitching to that heart page as well, and then I switch up the stitching colors. So I guess I could have just not been lazy with the buttons, but I was, and it looks fine. It doesn't really matter anyway, especially since I don't have blues and greens in my embroidery floss that match the blues and greens of this collection, so it's not like I could color match everything anyway. So I'm just adding little X stitches to the front of this, and I think that really adds just that little bit of needed oomph to the page. And then I'm taking the leftover string, and instead of butterfly trails, I'm just sticking string up their butt, which kind of gives the same effect, but also gives it way more texture than if I drew butterfly trails, or even if I stitched them. It gives it just that little bit of needed oomph that this page was missing, and I really, really love the way that it finished this whole thing off and looks so good. Perfect. So I'm going to add in one more thing, one more string, and that's going to be to the tag, of course. And then this is just about done, but I decided that these denim hearts from Citrus Twist Kits would be the perfect addition to this page. I am wearing a chambray shirt, so these chambray hearts are perfect. And then I add one more after this and call it good. So if you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you. If you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Traci M. Reed. I'd love to see you over there as well. There are links in the description box below to the Aflutter collection, the YouTube hop, everything you could look for. And I will see you next time. Thank you.